Hello everyone. So welcome to BCOM lecture series. We are in the final lesson now. It's lesson 6, presentation skills. Okay, so this lesson is based on improving your presentation skills. So it's a oral based session. Okay, so at the end of this lesson, you will be able to demonstrate effective presentation skills and prepare effective visual aids. Okay, so starting off, so most presentations are divided into 3 main parts. Okay, when it comes to a presentation, there are 3 main parts. In a presentation, you should have an introduction and the body and the conclusion. Okay, so as a general rule in communication, repetition is valuable. So in a presentation, people, most of the time, they listen to this for the first time. Okay, so for someone to get the main ideas, repetition is key when it comes to presentation. Okay, so there is a rule, the golden rule. We have this golden rule called in the introduction, say what you're going to say. And in the body, we say it. And then in the conclusion, say what you just said. Okay, so all 3 parts. So introduction, we are going to say in a summarized version what we are going to say, what's the presentation is about. In the body, we actually present it, say it. And in the conclusion, we summarize what we already said. Okay, so with this repetition in each part, organizing and formatting with this repetition technique, it is easy to give the message or whatever the information easily, okay, to the audience. So, introduction. The introduction is a very important, perhaps the most important part of your presentation. This is the first impression that your audience have of you. You should concentrate on getting your introduction right. You should use the introduction to welcome your audience. Hello, everyone. I'm here. We go through the different phrases. So we use the introduction to welcome, introduce your subject, outline the structure of your presentation, give instruction about questions. Okay, so example of language for each of these functions are shown below. So let's go through one by one. So when it comes to welcoming your audience, we can say good morning or good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, welcome or hello, good day, everyone. Okay, phrases like this. Introducing your subject, we can say, I'm going to talk about. Today, I'm going to address about. Today, I'm going to discuss. The purpose of my presentation is to do this. Okay, so in different ways, in these different ways, we can introduce our subject. Okay, and also we can introduce ourselves. So I am Rajani Aloka. I'm here to present about this topic today. Okay, so like that. Then we have outlining your structure. So what are the parts you're going to cover in the presentation today? That is the outline. Okay, to start with, I'll describe the progress made this year. Then I'll mention some of the problems we've encountered and how we overcame them. After that, I'll consider the possibilities of further growth next year. Finally, I'll summarize my presentation before concluding with some recommendations. Then we have giving instructions about questions. Okay, so when you give instructions about questions, you have to first decide whether you want people, whether it's kind of a discussion mode presentation where you are okay with people interrupting in the middle. Okay, if it's this case, you can say, do feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. If you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me in the middle, in between the presentation. And if you don't want people to ask or interrupt you during the presentation, you can say, I'll try to answer all your questions after the presentation. Or I plan to keep some time for questions after the presentation. Okay, you will get a Q&A round after the presentation is done. Okay, so have your questions, keep your questions for the Q&A round, which will come after the presentation. Okay, likewise, you have to mention in the introduction itself. Otherwise, if you don't want to interrupt and people interrupt, it will be a problem. Okay, so yes. So that is about the introduction. Okay, now moving to the body part. The body is the real presentation. The body is the real presentation. If the introduction was well prepared and delivered, you will now be in control. You will be relaxed and confident. The body should be well structured, divided up logically with plenty of carefully spaced visuals. Remember these key points when delivering the body of your presentation. Do not hurry. Okay, sometimes people, out of nervousness, they kind of quicken the pace, and it's really hard to understand what they're saying. Okay, so do not hurry. Even if you feel like you are hurrying, just slow it down, take a moment, take a deep breath, and start again from where you stopped, and pay attention and know that these people are listening to this, hearing this for the first time. Even though you have practiced this over and over, they are listening to this presentation for the first time. So people need to understand what you say. Okay? Be enthusiastic. Don't be dull. Don't have this dull look on your face. Have a smile and be enthusiastic. Give time on visuals. So if you have a PowerPoint ready, so give time on visuals. Okay, so but do not overload your PowerPoint with too many details. A PowerPoint is a visual aid. Okay, so a PowerPoint is a visual aid. People are not there to read from a PowerPoint, or you should not be reading from your PowerPoint. Okay, so you should present. The PowerPoint is a visual aid. Okay, maintain your eye contact. So give eye contact to your audience. So if there are, so basically there will be a lot of people, at least few people in the audience. So you can't, if you find it hard to give eye contact, you can look straight. If you are standing, look straight at a point, and it will give the impression that you are looking, giving them eye contact. Okay, so do not look down and present. Do not look up and present. These are two things that some people do when they present because they feel nervous. They look down or up to avoid eye contact. But if you don't like eye contact, you can give the impression by looking at a straight point, straight at a straight point without actually looking at a person. That will, if that makes you nervous. Okay, so modulate your voice. So if you have this same voice like da 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 da. Okay, so you say the same thing for the if the presentation is 10 minutes and you go in the same tone. So it's gonna bore the audience. Okay, people are going to feel bored and it's hard to give focus if the voice is the same level. So modulations are important. Okay, you have to modulate your voice, give emphasis when it's needed, give pauses, heighten your voice and lower your voice according to the content. Okay, if you are saying something very important, you can get the attention. So so pauses, emphasis, and voice lower and higher pitch. These are the things how you can modulate your voice. Okay, so look friendly. Okay, so you need to look friendly. Do not look like you hate these people and you don't want to be here. Okay, so look friendly. Keep to your structure. Okay, so if you have a structure in your body, keep to your structure, keep to the points, stick to the points, use your notes. So you can have some notes if you forget some, so don't read from that. Okay, have some notes in case you can go back and remind yourself, okay, this is the next point I have to talk about. Okay, these are the important parts I have to cover under this topic. Okay, so it's a reminder for you. And signpost throughout. So you can say this. So now we are moving to this topic. Let's move to this. Okay, always have the flow, create a flow. Okay, so from one topic, don't just jump to something else without making a connection. Now we have discussed about this. Now it's time to discuss about this point that will link to this in this way. Okay, remain polite when dealing with difficult questions. So when people ask you questions, remain polite, and even if it's a difficult question. Okay, so moving on to conclusion, use the conclusion to sum up. Give recommendations if appropriate. Thank your audience. Invite questions. Okay, we'll go through different phrases. To sum up, we can say to conclude. In conclusion, now to sum up. So let me summarize or recap what I've said. Finally, may I remind you of some of the main points we've considered. Okay, these are the ways you can start the conclusion. And you can give recommendations if possible. In conclusion, my recommendations are this. I therefore suggest or propose or recommend the following strategy. Okay, likewise, you can give recommendations if there are any. Then you can thank your audience. Many thanks for your attention. It was lovely to have you in the audience. May I thank you all for being such an attentive audience. Likewise, you can thank the audience. And then you can invite for questions. Now I'll try to answer any questions you may have. Or can I answer any questions? Are there any questions? Do you have any questions? Are there any final questions? Now it's a Q&A round. Likewise. So when it comes to questions, questions are a good opportunity for you to interact with your audience. It may be helpful for you to try to predict what questions will be asked so that you can prepare your responses in advance. So you can predict, assume what would people want to know if I present this. So you can pre-prepare for questions with some answers. You may wish to accept questions at any time during the presentation or to keep the time for questions after the presentations. Normally, it's your decision and you should make it clear during the introduction. Be polite with all questioners, even if they ask difficult questions. They are showing interest in what you have to say and they deserve attention. Sometimes you can reformulate a question or answer a question with another question or even ask for comments from the rest of the audience. So these are some ways you can deal with difficult questions. So you can ask a question. So what do you think? Okay, so you think this. What about this? So ask the question, answer a question from a question to get to know more. Okay, or you can ask from the audience their opinion. What do you think? Okay, or you can say, I'll get back to you later. I have to think about this question a little bit. I'll get back to you later. Okay, so these are the ways you can deal with difficult questions. Okay, so that is it about the planning and different parts of a presentation. Okay, now we have a video to watch to go through this once more, revise. Okay, we'll watch that.
I'm Gina. Welcome to Oxford Online English. In this lesson, you can learn how to make a presentation in English.
Do you have to make presentations in English in your job? Imagine you had to give an important presentation in English tomorrow. How would you feel about it? This lesson will help you learn useful phrases and techniques to introduce yourself and your topic, keep your ideas organized, deal with problems, and respond to questions from audience members.
Imagine you're standing in front of your colleagues. You need to introduce yourself and what your presentation is about. What are some words and phrases you could use?
If some people in the audience don't know who you are, you should introduce yourself and your position. In a more formal setting, you could say something like this. Good morning, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name's Simon, and I work in the marketing department. Or, hello, everybody. Before we begin, let me introduce myself briefly. I'm Reese, and I'm the head of HR.
Don't need new skills for a second job if you know right AI tools.
If you work in a more informal company, you could say, "Hi guys, if you don't know me, I'm Sylvia, and I work in digital marketing." Or, "Hello, I see some new faces, so I'll introduce myself first. I'm Julia, and I'm one of our customer service team." Next, you need to introduce your topic.
If your presentation topic is simpler, you could just say one sentence, like this. Today, I'm going to be talking about our new HR policies and how they affect you. Or, I'd like to talk to you today about quality control and why we're all responsible for quality control, whichever department you work in.
If your topic is more complex, you might add more detail to break your idea into stages. For example, I'll begin by outlining the policies, and then I'll go on to highlight what they mean for you and your working habits. Finally, I'll briefly discuss why we feel these new policies are necessary and beneficial for us all.
Here's another example. First of all, I'll explain why quality control has a broader meaning than you might expect. I'll continue by giving examples of real quality control and why this matters for all of us. To finish, I'll be asking you to think of ways you can incorporate quality control into your working habits.
Here, you saw two examples. You can use these as templates to begin your presentation. I'll begin by, and then I'll, finally, I'll, or, first of all, I'll continue by, to finish, I'll. Okay, now you can practice. We'd like you to do two things. First, practice introducing yourself informally and explaining your topic in a simple way with one sentence. Then, practice introducing yourself formally and explaining your topic in a more detailed way. Pause the video and practice speaking. All the language you need is in this section. Ready? Let's move on.
I'm sure that in your life, you've heard good speakers and bad speakers. Good speakers grab your attention and don't let go. You want to hear what they have to say. You feel interested and energized by listening to them. Bad speakers are the opposite. Even if you try to make yourself listen, your attention drifts away. Your eyelids feel heavy and you have to struggle to stay awake. So, here's a question. What's the difference between good speakers and bad speakers? And how can you make sure you speak effectively when you make your presentation in English?
Here's one way to think about it. Bad speakers don't think they have to earn your attention. Good speakers understand that no one has to listen to them, so they work hard to make you want to pay attention. What does this mean for you and your presentation? Getting people's attention starts from the beginning. You need to make it clear what people should expect from your presentation and why they should care about what you have to say. Sounds like a nice idea, but how do you do this?
Here are 3 techniques you can use. 1. Establish a problem that many people in your audience have. Then, establish that you have a solution to their problem. For example, have you ever felt unfairly treated at work? Or felt that the work you do isn't appreciated? We've been working to make new HR policies that will make sure all staff get fair recognition for their contribution to the company. In this way, you can take a boring-sounding topic like HR policies and make it more relevant to your audience. How? By connecting it with their experiences and feelings.
The second technique? Mention an interesting fact or a surprising statistic to get people's attention. For example, did you know that the average office worker spends 8 hours a day at work, but only does 4 hours of productive, useful work? I'm here to tell you about quality control and how you can use this idea to make better use of your time.
Stop taking meeting notes and let ClickUp AI Note Taker do it for you. It allows you to focus on your meetings, not your notes.
Finally, you can engage people by telling a short story and connecting it to your topic. Stories are powerful, and they can add an emotional dimension to your topic if you do it well. For example, I once met a young salesman. I won't mention his name. He spent several weeks building a relationship with a potential client. He worked overtime, and he was working so hard that he was under severe stress, which started to affect his personal life. In the end, he didn't close the deal. The client signed with another firm. Today, I'm going to talk about confidence as a sales tool and how you can avoid the traps that this young man fell into. Use one of these 3 techniques in your introduction to connect with your audience and show them why they should be interested in what you have to say. Here's a question for you. Which technique would you prefer to use, and why? Okay, now you've introduced your topic and have everyone's attention. What next?
There's a famous quote about making presentations. Tell the audience what you're going to say it, and then tell them what you've said. Have you heard this before? Do you know who said it? This comes from Dale Carnegie, a very successful American salesman and writer. He lived a long time ago, but his advice is still relevant today. So here's a question. What does the quote mean?
It means that your presentation shouldn't just give information. You also need to show people how your information is organized. To do this, you need signposting language. Let me give you an example to explain. Imagine you go to a website. The website is full of really useful, interesting information, but the information is all on one page. There's no organization, and you have to scroll up and down this huge page trying to find what you need. Would you stay on that website? Probably not. You'd find a website which made it easier for you to find the information you needed. What's the point here?
The point is that having interesting or relevant information is not enough. How you structure and organize your information is equally important. If you don't structure your presentation clearly, people won't pay attention, just like you won't stay on a website if you can't find the information you want. So how can you do this? You use signposting language. This means using words and phrases to show the audience where your points begin and end, to show what's coming next, and to remind them about things you talked about before.
For example, okay, that covers the new policies. Next, I'd like to move on and discuss what these policies mean to you. Or, now that you've heard a bit about what not to do, let's focus on positive advice to help you be more effective salespeople and close more of your leads. When you say something like this, you aren't giving people information about the topic of your presentation. Instead, you're showing people where you are and where you're going next. It's a kind of signpost. You don't need signposts to travel from one place to another, but they can make it easier. What else can you use signposting language for?
You can use signposting language to move from one point to the next. For example, next, I'd like to talk about. Let's move on and discuss. Or, at this point, I'd like to turn to...
You can use signposting language to add detail to an idea. Let me go into some more detail about... Let's examine in more depth. Or, I'd like to elaborate on...
You can use signposting language to show that you finished your main points and you've reached your conclusion. To wrap up, let's remind ourselves of why this should matter to everyone here. Let's review the key points from this session. So, you've heard what I have to say. What conclusions can you take away from this? If you have an important presentation in English, practice using signposting language. Use signposting language to move between points to show when you're giving a summary or going into more detail, and to signal that you've reached your conclusion. Okay, but things don't always go so smoothly in real life. We know that. Let's look at some advice and language for dealing with problems during your presentation.
Start to speak like a top manager. 3 phrases that kill your first impression. Literally.
Imagine you're making your presentation in English. What could go wrong? What problems could you have? There are many common problems. You might forget where you were or forget an important word. You might realize that you said something wrong or you didn't explain something clearly. You might forget to mention something important. Or someone might ask you an awkward question which you have no idea how to answer. Of course, there are other possibilities. Let's think about these problems. What can you do? And more importantly, what can you say in these situations?
First of all, it's a good idea to make a cue card with key points as well as any important vocabulary you need. If you lose your place or you forget a word, it could help. However, you can't prepare for everything, so it's useful to learn some phrases to deal with problems smoothly. If you lose your place and can't remember what to say next, you can use a filler phrase, like, where was I? So, what was I saying? What's the word in English again? If you still can't remember, look at your cue card with your main points. Of course, forgetting something isn't ideal, but if you do, it's better to keep talking rather than just standing there in silence. What if you make a mistake, or you realize that you didn't explain something well?
You could say, let me rephrase that. Actually, what I meant to say is... To clarify, I wanted to say that... In this way, you can correct yourself without admitting that you made a mistake. What if you realize that you forgot to mention something important?
Use a phrase like this. Let me just add one more thing. I'd like to add something to a point we discussed earlier. Let me return to an earlier point briefly. Again, this allows you to correct your mistake in a confident way so you look like you're in control. Finally, what do you do if someone asks you a difficult question which you can't answer?
You have a few options. First, you can delay giving an answer. For example, I've allocated time for questions at the end of this session, so we'll address your idea later. Or, I'm not in a position to answer that right now, but I'll get back to you later this week. This gives you time to think of an answer and do some research if you have to.
Next, you can deflect the question by asking a question back, or maybe by asking other audience members what they think. For example, that's an interesting question. Before I answer, I'd like to know, what's your take on this? Or, You've raised an important point there. What does everyone else think about this?
Finally, if the question is irrelevant, you can dismiss the question and move on. For example, thanks for your input, but I don't see how that's connected to what I'm saying. I don't mean to be blunt, but I don't think that's relevant to today's discussion. Notice how you can use phrases like, thanks for your input, but, or, I don't mean to be blunt, but, to make your language more indirect and polite. So, for dealing with difficult questions, just remember the 3 Ds: delay, deflect, dismiss.
Finally, we want to ask you something. Do you have any advice for giving good presentations in English or any language? We'd love to hear your ideas. Please leave a comment and tell us what you think.
Remember to visit our website for more free English lessons, oxfordonlineenglish.com. Thanks for watching.
See you next time.
Okay. We have a comprehension. So what we are going to do is we are going to go through this comprehension and make a presentation using the points here. Okay, so it's about innovation in business. Okay, so let's go through the comprehension and we'll take the points and make a slide and try to practice presenting this. Okay, so what does it mean to be innovative in business? In order for a business to survive in today's world, it is important that we regularly review what we are doing and how we are doing it. By considering new ideas and new ways of doing things and trying to innovate, we can improve on our product services, increase sales, reduce costs, and make our processes more effective and efficient. Innovation is key to increasing profits. There are several ways a company can be innovative with their products and services. Today, we will look at 4 of them. Using the latest technology to improve your product service. When we think of innovation, we often think of new technologies. While they might be impressive, we should not use new technologies just because they are available. It is important to consider how the technology can improve our product service and make a difference to our customer. Companies that produce cars, toiletries, household appliances, etc. often have a large R&D department. That means research and something to do with research department, research and data or something. Department to work on making their products better. Responding to customer demands by changing what is on offer. By listening to customer feedback, we can get their opinions on how we are doing and find out about what it is that they want. We also need to be aware of changes in customer demands and keep up with the times. When fast food restaurant McDonald's realized that the market wanted healthier choices, they introduced fruit salads while removing the supersize option from their menus. Offering a new product service to reach new customers. Your business might be doing well, but there is no growth or development, and there is a risk that your competitors might take away some of your customers. Innovation sometimes means developing a new product that targets a different market. Although video games were often played by boys in 2006, video games giant Nintendo introduced the game console Nintendo, successfully targeting girls and older customers with games like Cooking Mama and Brain Training. Changing the way you provide the service. By looking at the changes to the customer's lifestyle and needs, we sometimes realize that there might be better ways to serve them. Customers who do not have a lot of time might prefer to have their food or their shopping delivered to their homes, or they might like to do their banking online rather than in an actual bank. Not all innovation will bring success to your business. but it can give us the opportunity to grow and learn more about what we do and what our customers might want. Okay, so we have some content here. Now we need to make a presentation, a PowerPoint. Okay, step by step, I'll show you how we can do this. So step by step, I want you to do it with me. Take a presentation, open a PowerPoint, and we need the title first. So, innovation in business. We can put presented by. Okay. You can say at the end of this presentation, you will identify so what are the parts we are going to cover? What does it mean to be innovative in business? We are going to introduce that. Then yeah, that would do for now. So this is kind of This is more like the conclusion. Let's recap. And you can have slide 4. Questions. Okay, so I haven't done any visuals, like put any photos or anything yet. So this is like the a little bit of the structure. Okay, so we want the title page. Okay, innovation in business. So we have outline what we are going to present today. Okay, then we introduce the topic. This is our introduction slide. Okay, so you can even put, no, this is better. Yeah. And then we talk about these 4 points. This is our body, using the latest technology to improve your product or service, responding to customer demands by changing what is on offer, offering a new product or service to reach new customers, changing the way you provide a service. And it's the conclusion. And thank you. Any questions? Time for questions. So first, I'll give you some time to come up with something like this. We need a little bit of a sample like this without a lot of other things. Okay, so what we can do is, after we have this sketch kind of a thing, we can add visual aids, and visual aids in the sense we can add photos or pictures or even little points. Now, I don't want you to overload your slides with, I don't want you to copy and paste that full thing. That's what you are going to say with added details that you can search. Okay, come up with. But the rest of it will make it more, I want you to make it more visually appealing, and the information you will give them. Okay, so that is a better way to do a presentation rather than having a huge chunk on your presentation slide. Okay, so I'll give you some time to first come up with something like this. Okay. Okay, so you can pause the video here and come up, create your PowerPoint first if you need more time. And now what we can do is, after this, you can add the details to your slides, right? So we can add a design, okay, a simple design like this, or if you can come up with your own, okay? So for now, I'm going to add something like this, okay? So add the design, and you can add some photos, so pictures that will help you. So what does it mean to be innovative in business? Okay, so we can add some pictures. I'll show you one example, okay? So if you find anything that you think suits, okay, you can add it. Okay, for now, I'm going to add something like this. You can put this as a background photo and have so here, send to back. Format picture. Something like this. Up to you. I'm just showing, okay, how you can make your slides more attractive, but don't overdo. So see, now if I take this here and with the font and everything, people might not really see this. So if I change the color a little bit. Okay, so those things you have to pay attention as well. Okay, so what does it mean to be innovative in business? So I'm not going to add a lot. So I'm going to do the introduction just with this slide. Okay, so innovation in business is this and that. Okay, so you can do some things like that for the rest of the slides as well. So what we can do is after we make the slides, we can practice presenting, right? So we can start by, hello everyone, or good evening everyone, good afternoon. I'm HR Aloka. I'm here to present you the topic innovation in business. So today I'm here to talk about the topic innovation in business. And moving on, at the end of this presentation, you will identify what does it mean to be innovative in business and identify 4 ways a company can be innovative with their products and services. So, what does it mean to be innovative in business? Okay, so as in the presentation, as the video showed, that you can make your introduction interesting. You can start with a story. You can give a problem and a solution. Okay, so you can start with a problem and a solution and then move to this. So today, today, let's delve deeper into the topic. What does it mean to be innovative in business? Okay, so in the presentation, today we are going to talk about 4 ways we can be innovative when it comes to a business. So the first is this, and we go one by one, give examples, talk about them in detail. Okay, so moving on to our next topic, moving on to the next topic, and finally the fourth topic. So let's recap. So in conclusion, we can say these are the innovation in business is this, and these are 4 ways that we can be innovative in a business. And if you want to be innovative, or if you are someone who's working in a business, these are some tips that you can use. And I recommend this and that. Okay, and thank you for listening to the presentation. And if you have any questions, it's time for the Q&A now. Okay, so like that, practice. Okay, so that's what I want you to do now. I'll give you some time to finalize your presentation and then to practice. Okay. Okay, so complete your slides and then practice. You can do this over and over until you feel like you have mastered it. Then you can search for another topic that you are interested in and then make the presentation and practice it. So presentation skills are something that can be very helpful for you when it comes to your career and professional life. So practice presentation skills and improve your presentation skills. So that is it for this lesson. Hope you all got an overall idea on how to improve your presentation skills and how to organize your slides and how to organize your presentation. And yes, I'll see you in the seminar series in the for the exams. Okay, I'll see you then.